This is your 28storms.com tropical update for Saturday, November 12th. We have an area of surface high pressure dominating much of the southeast U.S. coastline, and that extends into the western Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico behind this stationary frontal boundary. And we do have some convection out ahead of that front, but it is showing no organization at this time. And of course, this time of the year, the intertropical convergence zone out into the central Atlantic is going to be located well south of 10 degrees north latitude. On the visible satellite, you can barely make out that frontal boundary that is starting to wash out over the central Atlantic, and it does extend into the southwest Caribbean, where we actually do have a very weak tropical wave passing through Central America, and this wave does have some moisture and convection associated with it, and this feature is likely to push on westward into the eastern Pacific. Turning to the water vapor to look more so at the mid to upper level atmospheric environment, we see that there are many westerly troughs and mid-latitude systems dominating the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf of Mexico, and the only areas that are even somewhat marginally favorable in terms of vertical wind shear is the extreme southwest Caribbean into the far eastern Pacific. With that in mind, this is the 12Z run of the CMC model, and it is taking that tropical wave westward into the eastern Pacific, where by day 6 it is attempting to organize into what could be a tropical disturbance that does bear some watching for tropical development down the road. And much like yesterday, some of the models are still maintaining the idea of at least a subtropical broad area of low pressure located to the southeast of Bermuda by day 6, and this will also be monitored for at least some chance of subtropical development. The following is now the 12Z run of the GFS model, and much like the CMC, once this tropical wave does begin to emerge into the eastern Pacific, the models are at least seeing the potential for this system to organize into a minimal tropical system, as it looks like the upper air environment will be favorable. And the good news is that unlike the GFS run from yesterday, the GFS is no longer overly aggressive with the idea of subtropical storm formation in the central Atlantic. And finally, this is the 6-day forecast from the 12Z run of the ECMWF model. The European has also backed off to some extent on that potential subtropical system out into the central Atlantic, but much like the CMC and GFS, it does at least have a broad area of low pressure in the eastern Pacific to the south of the Gulf of Tehuantepec. So the tropics are likely to remain quiet for at least the next 3 to 4 days. Beyond that point, we may have two marginal systems to keep an eye on, but even if they do form, it is likely that they will stay far away from land. But as always, we will continue to monitor the tropics for you here all the way up until the official end of hurricane season, so expect another 28storms.com video update by tomorrow afternoon.